Hello and welcome to yet another noobreview.com quick look. This time I am joined by fellow Noob Review staff member Mr. Adam Radcliffe.
Hello.
Hello, Adam. And for anyone that's confused, we're not actually looking at the original Killzone. This is the HD remake of the very first Killzone that's recently come out on...
Well, HD
3.
remaster. They did their best. Unfortunately, I heard a rumour that they found a lot of the old files for the remaster in some guy's basement somewhere. So
Really? Oh, God.
Apparently not the best one ever. But, yeah, this is Killzone HD. Available in the Trilogy Collection, which came out 23rd of October.
Wow, aren't you a font of knowledge? Now, I'm not really... Well, I'm not a fan of the Killzone series at all. I'm not really sure how successful the original one was. I know Killzone 2 was a real big seller for the PS3.
And the third one, not so much. But the first one, yeah, it was a big deal at the time because it was on the PS2 and there wasn't that many sort of shooters like it, like futuristic military shooters.
Yeah, I mean,
there was a lot of hype for it, and then it
watching...
came out, and it got a lot of mixed to good reviews. But I think, like when you look back at it, it's like, God, this was what was good back then.
Yeah, it's weird to go back to sort of old first-person shooters and play them again, because you kind of, even though we're always jabbering on about how the market's really saturated because there's so many first-person shooter titles out there, like the fundamentals that they all have are like so much better to play now. Like first-person shooters in general are much improved. And I think it's because there's been so many that the evolution of the genre's been, has gone really quickly. But I mean, I know you particularly are a fan of the Killzone franchise.
Yeah.
HD remaster of the first one, does that interest you at all? Or are you not bothered? Because, I mean, it just seems a bit of a weird one, really. I can understand, like, Shadow of the Colossus, the Team Ico HD re-release, and perhaps the God of War collection that came out, because those are really, like, fabled games. They're meant to be
following as well.
Well, yeah, they're meant to be hugely influential, and so people that didn't get the chance to play them first time around, and I include myself in that, it was a great way for us to experience it. But Killzone 1, I mean, it's not really the daddy of first-person shooters. So, as a Killzone fan, are you interested in picking this up at all? Or, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. It looks...
No, not really. I couldn't say I liked... Like, after watching a lot... Like, this is the first time that I've ever actually watched any gameplay of Killzone 1, because I'd heard lots about it and how it had been sort of a little bit disappointing and looked terrible in retrospect, and I was just like, well, it can't be that bad. But yeah, I wouldn't pick up the Trilogy Collection purely because the best one out of the three is the second one, and that's probably the only one anyone needs to play, because especially because at the time of its release, it was like a big showcase of what the PS3 could do, and it had some of the highest spec graphics that you could get your hands on.
Yeah,
that was like the main selling point, really. And then I just happened to really like the story and all the weapons and the gameplay at the same time, which was a bonus. But I'm not. It's like that doesn't compel me.
It's not enough
to get the other two at the same time.
It's not enough to make you want to go back and revisit where it all started.
No, not really.
I mean, to be fair, like they haven't done such a bad job with the HD remaster. I mean, it looks fairly good,
Yeah, it looks,
considering this
great,
was
really. Considering this was a PS2 game, I can imagine if you was playing this on PS2, it probably looked pretty a big, massive grey and brown. I imagine,
yeah,
pixels everywhere. But I never had a PS2, not to myself actually. I was content with a PS1 for a long time. But yeah, shoot some Hellguns, bloody Hellghast. They used to be humans,
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they're a
really...
colonization of humans who landed on the planet Helgen.
I really couldn't.
And they were left there for generations, and they just evolved to be stronger and faster. This gigantic war nation, and then they just decide to blitzkrieg the good guys, the ISA, decided they were to take over the universe, and they're all British for some reason.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it? I found that when I was playing through Killzone 2, I found it really odd that everyone had an English accent.
It's all hilarious to kill them. But yeah, the voice actor, now that you mention it, it sounds pretty bad in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they
constantly put it down.
Obviously, they
hilariously bad.
They can't really touch up everything, and although the game looks a lot better than it used to, you know, there's it's still a game that hasn't aged very well, really, at all. But yeah. I mean, it's it's I think the main problem with it is that there's so many, like I was saying before, first-person shooters. It's it's a market where there's so many games coming out every year that a rehash of an old one really doesn't cut it when everyone's kind of used to the really fast, sort of fluid, high-res graphical, ridiculous frame rate first-person shooters of the modern day, really. So, yeah, I can see why they'd release it to try and capitalise on the popularity of the franchise, but it's not an essential purchase by any means, I wouldn't think. Which is a shame, really, because, like I said, they look like they've done a really good job, but there you go.
Well, it's for Guerrilla Games. This was one of their first ever releases, and they've done a pretty good job considering. Like, you have to imagine this imagine if you'd first played it on the PS2. It must have been pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose it would. Anyway, that's it for this video. So, yeah, bye.
Thank you for playing. Presented by
Noob Review.